suppose the journey starts about 5 years ago. I was suffering from severe asthma and was taking a lot of steroids as a result. I had a condition called Cushing's syndrome, where you put on a lot of weight on your body, around about the stomach area. However, as that got resolved, I noticed that my stomach was very distended and I was having a lot of stomach pain and gastric problems. I went to my GP on a regular basis, Francis Shields at Derry Cross Medical Centre. On some occasions I was there on a weekly basis, and as the pain got worse and the symptoms got worse, I was begging her for help. However, she seemed to see it's just part of the illnesses that I had. I was admitted several times through accident emergency, and it was thought then, or suggested, that perhaps it was like an infected type of diverticulitis, because when they gave antibiotics etc. it would start to settle. Again, I returned to my GP and got nowhere. I was sent suddenly for a test that came through, a gastric emptying test. I don't know who sent me for it, I don't know who arranged it, other than there was a doctor's name on the letter that came through after, and it said that I had a delayed form of gastric emptying. At that point I had no idea what that meant or the implications. Again, I returned to my GP regularly until March of last year, when in desperation I begged her for help. I had grown to almost 6 to 8 inches, and to let you understand, someone who's 5'1" like me was approximately out to here. I was enormous and I couldn't take it any longer. I was in so much pain, and I actually said to her, I wouldn't treat an animal the way you've treated me. On that day she suddenly changed completely, apologised profusely and sent a referral to the hospital. I was then seen by Dr. Law, a gastroenterologist, who, although acknowledging that I had a huge distended abdomen, which they believed was the colon that had grown massively in size, he felt that it wasn't appropriate to refer me for surgery due to my other conditions, underlying conditions, like primary immune deficiency. And he told my mum that it was really better to let nature take its course. We discussed with him what it meant, and what he meant was to give me no treatment and allow me to die. We begged for help and explained I was a mother. And reluctantly he agreed to refer me on to a surgeon. I was then seen by Mr. Brennan, the surgeon, the colorectal surgeon in Forth Valley Royal. The time that was spent with him was less than 5 minutes with my family, myself and him. He drew a picture of my abdomen, showed me the huge colon that was inside, said it had to be removed urgently, and had I been referred 3 years previously, that it would never have got to that size, and it would have resulted in keyhole surgery as a day patient, in and out with a small incision. However, it was going to result in a very large operation, and I would have to have a stoma as a result. Now, no discussion was held about risks or complications. The only thing that was discussed was the respiratory illness and the careful handling of the anaesthetic would have to be managed. We then left and returned for the surgery approximately 6 weeks later. I underwent the surgery, and within a matter of weeks we knew there was something wrong with it. I was getting a lot of pain. Unfortunately, my surgeon did not give me a follow-up appointment and actually refused a follow-up appointment. And I was left in the care of an inexperienced stoma nurse who was out from the wards just to support a member of staff who was off sick. With regards to incontinence, I was told to buy puppy training pads from Poundland. With regards to bags being unable to attach to my body, she seemed to be at a loss as to how to do this, and that resulted in my skin breaking down, being blistered, burnt and eventually bleeding. She sought to get help and support from retired nurses that she phoned at home, which I found incredulous, but being desperate would accept any help. We continued to beg to see the consultant surgeon, and we got nowhere. At that point, we started to make complaints, and I was finally seen by the surgeon who did my operation almost 6 months after it happened. At that appointment, he insisted that I didn't have an actual hernia. I simply had a small swelling that he would not be bothering to look at. Now, as an ex-nurse, I knew I had a hernia. I could see that it was largely herniated and very swollen and red and inflamed. However, he refused any treatment. I broke down and I literally ran from the room in tears, leaving my husband behind. And within 15 minutes, the surgeon had completely changed his mind and said to my husband that, in actual fact, I had several internal tears, many herniated areas in the front of my abdomen, and a large hernia at my stoma, and he then offered complete reconstructive surgery. My husband came home to tell me, and I was horrified. I couldn't believe this man had gone from sending me home and telling me I had nothing wrong with me to then agreeing to all this surgery. I didn't know who to trust, I didn't know where to turn to, and I was desperate. And in absolute desperation, the following day I attempted suicide. I took 120 Tramadol. After that, I was given a care manager. I was offered to see another surgeon, who again offered to do another scan and attempt surgery in a small way to repair some of the damage. I was told, yes, the scans confirmed that I had a hernia and that that would be attempted to be repaired. I agreed to surgery again at the end of May 2013. Within 2 weeks of that happening, it had herniated again and I was in so much pain. Initially, I was sent to see the surgeon who agreed that reconstructive surgery would be required and that he would start to plan that. But at this stage, I still did not know what was causing my illness. Why was I so ill? Why was I continuing to vomit up to 8 times a day? Why was I passing up to 6-8 litres of fluid from my stoma daily, which meant it was hugely unmanageable and causing massive incontinence? No one seemed to understand what the problem was and didn't seem very motivated to find out. However, I was then told by the surgeon that he would ask for a gastroenterologist opinion. We as a family put in complaints about, what was happening and the length of time that to see a gastroenterologist would take further months and months and months. Having made those complaints, I was then sent a letter saying that the board had met, that the consultant surgeon had removed himself from my care and said it was untenable to continue to see me, and that I did not require any surgery, I did not have anything life-threatening, and they would not be giving me a referral for a private consultation, which we were more than happy to pay for. The end of the letter finished with, we would also recommend that you go for psychiatric or psychological help, implying that this was all in my mind. In desperation, we finally managed to get a letter of referral to Professor Fullerton at Ross Hall Hospital in Glasgow. So I paid privately to see Professor Fullerton in Ross Hall Hospital, Glasgow. When we got there, he had had a chance to see my scan results and notes, etc. His diagnosis was that his thoughts were I had probably had a condition called panenteric dysmotility, where the muscles and the nerves to the entire digestive system slowly die and it closes up and is unable to digest food or move it through. He explained that that was the reason that I was probably vomiting so many times a day and losing such large amounts of fluid via my stoma. He explained that the pressure was building internally and that this was what was pushing the bowel to rupture through the abdominal wall, and that really I would need an entire piece of mesh put in to give me a new abdomen and then think about residing the stoma. He also explained to me that if this was the condition I had, that surgery would be required urgently to get, as he described it, the mechanics put back in place properly, and that if the condition that I was suffering from continued, i.e. the vomiting and the large losses of fluid, that he would be sending me down to Salford Hospital, as that is the specialist unit in the United Kingdom for people with these types of digestive disorders. Professor Fullerton then explained that he would refer us to one of his team at Glasgow Royal Infirmary, and that ultimately was Dr. Ruth McKee. We waited to see her for several weeks despite it being an urgent referral. When we went in to see her, she didn't have any of my case notes, she didn't have any letters, she had nothing with her paperwork wise. She was able to link in to my file at Forth Valley Royal, but was unable to see surgical notes and scan results. Based on that, she advised me that she wouldn't be performing surgery. Her explanation was that with my primary immune deficiency, asthma, etc., that it wasn't a viable option to offer such treatment to myself. However, she did suggest that she would in the future be willing to do a lower abdominal x-ray to explore the possibility that in the future I could have my stoma reversed and the part of the bowel that was left, the small part, reattached. However, she said that she thought that it was perhaps very small, and ultimately that would leave me in the position where, unlike having 68 litres of water coming out of my bag a day, I would have that coming out of my anus, which would make me incontinent, as we explained. She did acknowledge that, and I explained to her that would mean I'd need to wear nappies for the rest of my life, and she just shrugged. She was unwilling to discuss any surgery further to that. She said that she felt that she was sure that if I approached enough surgeons, eventually I might find somebody who was willing to do the treatment that had been requested. However, she wouldn't be doing it. I think the reason that the NHS refused on an ongoing basis to give me the treatment I required is because at each point mistakes have been made and delays which have compounded my difficulties and my problems. There's been a huge length of time. For example, my GP having taken years to actually seek any help for me left me in a position where I required 9.5 hours of surgery initially, instead of day surgery as I was told it would have been with keyhole surgery. The doctor who then, the surgeon who then went on to try and repair these things, were basically not wanting to tell me how bad things had got, because it would have shown all the problems that had been left and left. Also, in the situation with Dr. McKee, at one point during our meeting she mentioned that she was a former colleague of my last surgeon, and I couldn't see any reason for that other than, for me, indicating a conflict of interests. He had refused to do that surgery as an urgent request and had put it on hold until the following year, until other investigations had been done. And I felt for her to go against that, she would be going against a former colleague. And this has been the case throughout my experience of seeking NHS care. It's cover-up after cover-up, not being told, for instance, that you have internal tears prior to going for a hernia repair. I would never have agreed to allow Dr. Rogers to surgically try and repair what he said was a small hernia in my stoma had I known that I had multiple deep holes internally and multiple hernias all over my abdomen. Why would I agree to one thing being pulled and stretched and reattached, which would then just move the pressure somewhere else for it to rupture through, which is exactly what it has done, now leaving a huge hole in my abdomen. I'd had this, what seemed like a light in the darkness, an explanation of what was wrong with me, and an offer of surgery, which had then been snatched away from me. I knew that with my condition, the primary immune deficiency, etc., if I do rupture internally and my bowel comes through, or I strangulate and it bursts, which it's a high risk of doing at any time, my immune system won't cope. I will immediately go in to shut down and I won't be able to be saved. Surgery won't be able to save me in that situation. It's too risky. It made me feel utterly worthless. To have sat with so many doctors who have lied, who have covered up, withheld information, got me to sign, to agree to operations when something, in my opinion, other than that operation was done to me. To have gone through all that, and for those people to simply dismiss you and say, we're doing nothing, then walk out and go to the coffee room, have a coffee and move on with their day, knowing that they are committing you to a certain death, made me feel utterly worthless. I felt like there was no reason to get up in the morning, because all these people had decided you are worth nothing. Absolutely nothing. The fact you have a child, you have a family, you have a life, and you're only 45, you are nothing. You're disposable. And that's what they have left me. They have destroyed part of my personality. I used to be described as a dynamic person. I was always laughing. I was the one who could joke about anything. I've lost that part of me. I'll never get that back. They've slowly eroded who and what I am. They have called me things that I had been referred to in inhuman ways as it. I have been told that I need psychiatric help, or I've begged for help with a medical and surgical condition I knew I had. And each door that I tried to open, it was slammed in my face. And you know, if enough people tell you that you're worthless and that you mean nothing and demonstrate it so well, you begin to take that on and to fight every day and get up and keep pushing through. It's been so hard, but I will not give up. No, I don't think I'm in the minority. I used to be a nurse, and I knew 20 years ago things like this did happen. You heard, you know, that things were covered up. However, since the beginning of this campaign, I've been left in no doubt that I am not alone. There are many people, children, babies, who've been left like this. Parents who have begged us to keep pushing on, to make this public, to let people know what is going on in the health service today, to name and to shame. I know I have evidence, I've seen it, I've talked to these people, I've read their stories, they've phoned me, they've spoke to us. They are out there and they're struggling. How many of you can honestly say you don't know anybody who's had problems in the NHS? Cast your mind back. Think about your neighbours and your friends, your family. Well, what I'm saying to you is, it is happening and it is real. And it could be you next. It could be your child. And we have to bring this forward and demand an inquiry into the way that matters like this are being dealt with in both these health boards, in Forth Valley and for Glasgow Royal Infirmary. Since the beginning of the campaign, the changes I've seen, I've learned that somebody does give a shit about me. You do. You people give a shit about me. And that has just given me such faith in humanity. There are people out there like you who do care and who do think about more than just themselves and are willing to stand up and help people and to push forward a cause that they know is close to not only my heart but to theirs. They can relate to this. You can relate to this, and I'm thanking you for that help. Yes, in some ways it has, but it's very sporadic. At every point, if I've needed anything, it's been as a result of the media, the newspapers, or yourselves, that I've actually got something. For instance, receiving a letter to say you'll get daily visits from your GP, maybe once a week, once every 10 days, and only once another complaint has went in and another issue has been raised by ourselves with the media, yourselves. Has that then followed through? Seeing a nutritionist, yes, although only given what was in the cupboard there, despite the drinks being, made aware that they're not actually ones that I can take. So it's very sporadic. It's 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Being told you're going to Salford, and then being told that you're just on a list with everybody else in the UK. At each step we've had to push and push and push. They will renege on anything if they can. This is not in their interest for this to be all solved. The hope is that I will just go away and I'll just die. I no longer am a problem once I'm dead. That's the end of everybody's issues as far as the NHS is concerned. Day to day, I feel very worn down by this, waiting for this phone call from Salford to say that I can go down. My abdomen is at points hugely distended, extremely tight. The worry from the doctors is that something is going to burst internally because it gets so blocked internally, and they can palpate the air. To let you understand, to move about with that huge swelling is very, very difficult. You wake up in the morning and the first thing you think is it burst. Is it opened yet? Through the day you're practically trying to move. It's very difficult getting up, which is not made any easier by the fact that you're vomiting and vomiting, living on water, and then maybe every few days managing to eat a few mouthfuls of vegetables or something, which then you pay for by vomiting all night again. It's extremely difficult to manage, and I spend most of my time now in bed, and the only place I've been now for months is the hospital. That's what I go to, is my appointments. So it's had a huge impact in my life. I feel very scared and anxious most of the time because it is like a ticking time bomb. At no point do I know when it's going to change, and I've already had to be taken in once for an overnight feed and also to observe the level of the swelling and distension. So I know it's just a waiting game, and at any point it could rupture, and that is a terrifying prospect because it would be instant peritonitis, and I have no way of coming back from that. So it's a daily risk and a juggle of risks, and food is just something I'm so scared of now, and I have lost so much weight, approximately 6.5 stone. Now I know I was overweight when I started because of my other conditions, but the weight loss is becoming so dramatic, and the nutritionists have observed, for instance, that I have no muscle mass left at all in my arms or my legs, which makes mobility or or lifting anything or holding anything very, very difficult. So my body's actually now it started to digest not only its fats but the muscle as well, and that can't continue on an ongoing basis, because nutritionally, you know, you can't keep going like that, and I'm concerned as well that then I end up too ill to actually undergo the huge surgery I'm going to probably require. Simply, it's the day I'm going to die. My greatest hope to be surgically put back together, to have this condition under control and have a future with my child. She has lost out so much. A mummy who can't run, who can't play, who can't lift, who can't attend things, who can't leave the house, who doesn't sit and have family meals, who doesn't go out with her. I hope to have a chance to try and make some of that up to her. Any of it would be good. It'd be a start. So that's my hope, that's my wish. What I want to say thank you. Thank you so much. You have no idea what you've done for me. When I go through this surgery and I will come through the other side, I have you to thank for this. You did this. Be under no illusions, you did this for me. And if you help to back this campaign and help more people to come forward, to tell us the stories, to put in the complaints and to start signing the campaign and demand an inquiry into the way these hospitals are being managed and the way people's care is being rolled out. This backdoor euthanasia or selective euthanasia where they decide who lives and who dies. This has to stop. It could happen to anybody that you love. And I want to say thank you again. Words are not enough. Words are not enough.